we're sitting at more than 60,000 followers. And when we started working together a few months back, you were at around 2,000.
In the middle of February, I had my first viral video, 10k views. I doubled down on everything. Overnight, I woke up to 10k followers, and then it was 50,000 followers in like less than 12 days.
The fact that you were willing to go and do it for 2 years, like I promise you, is the reason why you got there so fast.
On our first call, I was like, can you help me? And I definitely felt like I trusted you when you said that you could.
All right, Kim, welcome. Appreciate you having you here today.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Of course. So, right now we're sitting at more than 60,000 followers on Instagram, right? And when we started working together a few months back, you were at around 2,000. So, just the first question to, open up. I just want to ask you, and I want you to be super honest with this, is how does it feel? How are you feeling right now?
Good. Yeah, really good. I feel hopeful. Like when I started thinking about growing my account, started trying to grow up by myself, I was very like hopeless. So coming into this course, I was like hoping but not hopeful. So yeah, I'm feeling much more positive.
Love to hear that. All right, let's go back to the beginning. If you can start by introducing yourself and who you are, what you do, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So I'm an Irish musician, singer-songwriter. So the goal of this course for me was to solely grow my Instagram, so it would be possible for me to have an original music career.
100%. And before we started working together, did you have any real experience creating content on Instagram, just trying to market yourself out there as a musician? What was kind of like your starting point when we first started working together?
I had very little experience really. I was just kind of doing the usual thing that people do, like creating montages if I had a song. So I would just take clips of stuff and then upload it. And then I would usually not post for like days or weeks on end. Like my account was my personal account.
Hmm.
So I had like very little experience. Then I realized as time went on that I had to become good at social media to have any sort of career. So then I started making my own little videos with lyric text on a
Hmm.
separate account. And I did that for maybe 3 months with absolutely no kind of idea as to what I was doing. I had heard about doing research and finding ideas, but everything I was looking at, I was like, I can't do that.
Hmm.
So that was the extent of it. I did that for up to 3 months, and then I was completely like hopeless and at a loss as to how to continue.
Hmm. And you said that you realized that you had to put yourself out there, create these videos. When you say I realized that, what would you say that, what would you say made you realize that it wasn't enough to, create content, sorry, create songs, put them out there. Like you actually had to start creating content and market yourself. I'm just curious, like what made you realize that?
Like in the music industry, like there's a lot of discussion about record deals, how they're not really a thing anymore.
Hmm.
So like in the past, the only way your music got heard is if you're discovered or saved or someone comes along and gives you a
Yeah.
career. So I knew that that wasn't a thing anymore because I was looking at independent artists like, in the industry or around me, and I was like,
Hmm.
well, it's not a thing anymore, and it's not a thing that I want. The only thing there is to do is to take it into your own hands. Like having attention, it seemed like meant you could book shows, you could
Hmm.
have a career, you would have an audience, and you would have social proof. It just seemed like growing the account. Like I have all the songs,
Yeah.
and I was releasing them. Growing my account is like the best next step for a
Hmm.
musician.
Something that I really respect that you did, and if I go back to the beginning of our journey together, you were scared for this journey, and it's completely normal. Like you never done anything like this before, and it was essentially like learning a new skill from scratch. But something that you did from day one was putting yourself out there and really trying everything that you had to try and test and learn new skills that probably when you started being a musician you didn't consider that that you had to learn. But even at the beginning where the videos were not going viral immediately, and we're going to talk about that in a second, like you truly trusted the process, and probably there was not like a full week or probably like a few days where you didn't put any content out. You trusted the process, and you kept on posting. And that's not something that you should get for granted. So something that I want to ask you is in the first few months of working together when we were putting out content, but it's not like we had big outliers, tens of thousands of followers. What pushed you to keep on moving forward, trusting the process and keep on posting and learning?
In ter in terms of my own life, I was like, I like don't want to stay here, like
Hmm.
in my certain situation, because if I give up, that's where I'm going to be. So obviously that was a huge motivating factor,
Hmm.
which, wasn't kind of necessarily to do with the course. But if I think about the course, like in our meetings, I was doing research, so I was following everything you and Alessio were saying, and I was doing everything wrong, but like I knew I was, but I was like, it's still closer than what I
Hmm.
if I was on my own. So you would give me research and then I'd go do the research and then I would look at it afterwards and I'm like, oh, that was the wrong niche. So that kept happening. And then I would like make all the content and present it to you guys. And you would be really encouraging, which I think I really needed. You would be like, wow, like you made a lot of content, in a short
Hmm.
space of time.
True.
And then you would bring me on the call and show me how it's shit. And in
Hmm.
a very kind of like in a very not way where we were kind of laughing together, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I still felt like I felt uplifted after the calls because you were like, fair play for putting yourself out there, which I
Hmm.
appreciated. So that kept me going. And I think you were really good at like making me see where I was, like not letting me compare myself to say other people in the Discord chat. You were very good at like reminding me where I was at and that was still an okay place. So that definitely kept me going. Even in the shit content that I presented to you, you'd still point out the good parts and you'd point out that I was growing. So I was weirdly very motivated by that. Even posting it, I
Hmm.
knew it wasn't going to go viral, but I was like, I'm getting there. And
Hmm.
then also I found the seminars really inspiring, even though I wasn't even in a lot of them. But anyone's that I was in, hearing people pipe up about their issues, there's a couple of figures that I kind of would listen to, and they'd be very like inspiring. And I would notice that there seemed to be like a few people behind me in the sense of hadn't started posting content yet, and then a few people who had been on their second viral moment and had blown up a second time. So that was
Hmm.
like quite motivating. So I would say that kept me going.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that, Kim. And something that's super important that you did an amazing job in understanding that is the whole thing of you are on your own journey. And it's the whole thing of you cannot compare your step one to someone else step 10. I didn't just tell you those things to motivate you. Like, of course, partially was for that, but as a content creator, I could see that, okay, you improved this and this and this. Now, this and this and this is still super bad, but we're gonna get to that point, right? And just understanding that with every single batch, you were improving your content. That is where you really get attached to the input rather than the output. So it's like you saw progress in the input and the work that you were doing, even though it wasn't translating in big output numbers yet. And that's what kept you motivated to the point where the input was good enough to actually get output, right? And so many people, they just get stuck in this whole thing of like, first batch, not a viral video. What am I doing wrong? It's like you just started learning this new skill like a week ago, right? It's like think about your singing journey. Like your first week of singing, were you a good singer? You were probably super bad, and that's it's a skill like everything else. So just like understanding that about content creation and being humble enough to every single batch I'm improving something. And if I continue doing this, I will get to the point where people will recognize my content and see me. That's literally the key to success. And you did a great job in doing that. I mean it.
Thanks so much.
Of course, of course. All right. And I want to use this moment for the call now to make like whoever's watching this video now realize something. I think I told you in our first initial call because I tell every single one of our clients. Instagram is a tricky platform. It's a tricky platform because it's not linear growth. And whenever something is linear growth, is easier to keep yourself motivated because it's like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Oh, okay, I'm getting there. Let's keep on going. Instagram doesn't work like that. It's an exponential growth platform. So it looks like a very like flat line and then all of a sudden it goes up. And I think your story also confirms that. Can you like, for what you remember, of course, numbers wise, but can you kind of guide us through like the first initial months, how many like followers you gained, and then like when you had your big breakthrough, like how fast did you grow? to kind of prove this whole concept of exponential growth.
Like I didn't grow, even though I was posting every day.
Hmm.
Um, I think from like October, I was making drafts for you and kind of doing the previous work. And then I think the end of the October, you gave me a go ahead, or maybe it was November. Maybe it was November, you gave me a go ahead to start posting every day. And then it was November until February, which I think is a very short amount of time. I was willing to do this for like 6 months and then assess, but 2 years was like in my head I can do it for 2 years. And even just from being in the seminar calls, I that was very inspiring for me. I can't remember her name. She's like a TED speaker and she's really
No,
good with purple
Shin.
hair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like you just kept using her as an example, and she's like so inspiring and successful now to me, as a content creator. It took her 6 months of nothing.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I was kind of like, well, if her content looks that professional, I can do it for 2 years because, in comparison. And then friends of mine had said to me, you're posting like an awful lot, like, you, I feel kind of bad for you. And I was like, well, it's very like early yet. But yeah, it was November. I started posting every day with little to no growth. I don't think I got any growth, to be honest. Like I would gain a follower and lose one. It was that. It was
Hmm.
nothing. And then in the middle of February, I had my first viral video, which went to 10K views, which that for me was huge. And then, I just looked at the video and I doubled down on everything. This whole course is just about doubling down on what works. And I doubled down twice. I just thought of two more ideas. And then it was overnight, I woke up to 10K followers. And then another 12 hours, it was 20K. And then another 12 hours is 30. And then it was 50,000 followers in like less than 12 days.
Amazing. And I mean, what better than your story proves this concept? And I really love what you said there, that it's like people that are outside of this journey won't understand it until they see the big numbers. And I'm referring to what you just told me about your friend being like, I almost kind of feel bad for you. Like you're posting so much and nothing is getting to that point. But it's like, again, we go back to what I was telling you before, that people are so tied to the output and they don't see that before getting any output, your input needs to become good. And that's the boring part that no one sees. It's like the input is boring, is not exciting. Your numbers are not going up, but it's literally what you need to be able to then get this number. So the fact that you were willing to go and do it for 2 years, like I promise you, is the reason why you got there so fast. I always say this story about Alicia and I. Alicia and I, with Create Content Club, we gained 100,000 followers, starting completely from scratch in 2 months, in less than 2 months, actually. But I know for a fact that we got to that point because before we ever started posting content, we sat down and we said to each other, we are going to post one, if not two videos a day, every single day for a year. And we don't even have the right to speak and say this worked or this didn't work until we do it for a whole year straight. And that was the kind of mindset that got us to achieve it in 2 months. But if we would have said that, okay, let's do that, and then we have a month to assess, I promise you we would have not gotten to that result. And the same thing is for you. Like the fact that you sat down with yourself and you were like, you know what, I'm gonna do it for 2 years. And I don't even have the right to assess the situation. In this from 2 years, you know how rare that is? Like so many people are not willing to do that. Right. And that's why you got to this growth. So, you should be proud of yourself for this. And I'm telling you, as someone that went through the same journey, like this is genuinely the reason why you were able to hit this number.
I can see that. Like even my mindset has fallen back into recently, there's so much growth potential here. And when I've been like recently focusing on the output, I haven't gotten the same results. So like that, it's a reminder to go back
Yeah.
and focus on the input.
Yeah. And again, like especially with your career, like you're a musician and your sole purpose is to put your music out there. Like it's to put your art out there. Like I never want you to forget, Kim, that your goal here is to create something that excites you in the first place. And it's like I'm so happy that this video is getting 10,000 views, 100,000 views, not because of the number, because like 100,000 people are listening to my song now, right?
Yeah.
It's like And you should always maintain that kind of feeling inside of you whenever you post and create a video, because the moment where you start being like, just 10,000 views, what am I even doing? Like 10,000 people just listen to your song there. So it's like,
Yeah.
I ask you, like moving forward for years, like the best creators that keep on growing are the people that never forget, are the creators that never forgive this aspect, which is like create, almost like create for yourself in a way that you're just excited about the products, the music that you're putting out there. And that is where you will keep on being grateful forever about the fact that people are listening to your songs, are watching your videos. Is that kind of energy that gets shared? Because like a lot of people think views, algorithm, like you're literally showing a piece of art to other human beings. And human beings are the best on in the world to be able to read people, of course, right? To feel emotion. So it's like if you're creating something just for the sake of getting some views, people will read right through that, and your video will start to perform way worse. Love it. So a few last questions for you. Again, I want you to be like you've been on this whole call, and I really appreciate that. But just keep on being super genuine, honest. I do want to ask you, like, what would you say was the best part that helped you the most when it comes to the coaching, the course, that you really believe it's a big part of your success on social media? What would you say was the most valuable part about the program?
It is, to be honest, like it is the one-on-one, it will work. Like I know that sounds so dumb, but when you're watching like videos of people telling you it will work, you know what I mean? But you get that like human interaction, like it will work. And I feel like you were very good at like even there was a time where I was like, my account is stuck. I should make a new account. And I kept going back and forth, and I was like, it's my account. It's everyone I went to school with is on my account. And then I would say it to you, and you would go and assess my account. And I remember something you said to me, like, and it was a couple of days. It was like during the Christmas period, and I was kind of felt like giving up. You said like the account is loading because you assessed my account, and you're like, no, there's because you would go and look, and you're like, maybe the account is dead, but then you would see that no, it actually is, slowly increasing, or you were able to see that there was evidence it might grow. So that was like very encouraging to me, and I had like a lot of trust. I from maybe from the other results that you'd gotten, I had so much like trust that it would work. So when you said it would work, I was like, it'll work. And then also I found around that period, like Alessio's seminars just really encouraging. And there was a couple of ones he threw in with about mindset. A lot of them are very like technical, and he's giving you really good information. But there was one around mindset, and it was very inspiring, and it just seemed to be like when I really needed it. So I think that was the mix of it. There was a mix of the one-on-oneness. I could text you, you could look at a problem that I was worried about. Because if I was on my own, I would have maybe swapped accounts again. But then it was kind of getting your expert advice, being like, no, stay with it. And then when I needed a pick me up, like Alessio seminars, I just found really encouraging, So it was probably those two things, yeah.
And I want you to realize something. In the moments where you were kind of like feeling lost, and it's like, is all of this worth it? You would go back and see the success case studies that we had, the people that already made it, right? And I just want you to like take this in and realize for a moment that we're literally recording an asset right now that will inspire someone else to not quit and keep on pursuing their dreams. Like right now, you're literally inspiring the next person. And I want you to truly realize that, like, how beautiful of a thing that is. You use the other stories to inspire yourself to the point where now you're inspiring the next person. And I think that's just beautiful, and the courage that you had on keep on going, and just trusting yourself in the process. Now got us to this point where you have 60,000 people, following you for your music, for your art. And we have an exciting call right after where we're gonna talk about like the next steps for us together, right? But yeah, really, really realize that, because I know it's not something common, and you should be proud of that. The fact that you're inspiring the next person.
Yeah, no, that is lovely. It is lovely.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think like after doing this course, like there's nothing that you can't do. And not, I don't mean that in a like, no, I do mean it in a Hormozy sort of way, and not in like an airy fairy way. I do think like it was very solidified in my head if you follow steps to get where you want to go for anything, and take the emotion out of it and just follow the steps, like it will work. So this course is great for your mindset. for
Mhm.
sure.
I always say it, like content creation is literally self-improvement on steroids.
Yeah, for sure.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
You're challenging yourself with so many different skill set. You're putting yourself out there. You're creating something that you're either proud of or not proud of, but then you put it out there and no one's reacting to that. It's like it's so humbling. And the fact of like keep on going until it works is honestly, yeah, it's just self-development to the max. So yeah. I guess last two questions for you. The first one being, and again, ask you to be honest here, and you don't have to necessarily tell me like, oh, no, I would not be in this place. Like, I want you to respond in an honest way, which is, if we would have started working, back in October at this point together, and you would have tried to do this by yourself without our help, where do you think Kim would be right now?
I'd be fried. I don't know. I don't know. No, when I entered this course, like I think I needed it like a lifeline. Like I know anyone I talk to, social media is so hard. That's all you hear. Like it's all I hear, especially from musicians. There is no, maybe there is, there's no social media school that I know of, anyways. But
Mhm.
the way this course is set up, we have so much access. There was like so much to attend that I couldn't keep up. By being involved or even in that world, I felt like if I like cling on long enough, I will succeed. But on my own, I had nothing to cling on to. It was my own motivation, and I couldn't rely on it because I was too emotional and upset about my situation. So I genuinely don't think I would have made any progress. But I also like I needed help so much when I came. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. I truly appreciate you saying that, Kim. And very last question for you is, like you're inspiring right now the next person, and I really mean it. And if after watching this video they would still be like, should I do it? Should I not do it? When it comes to working with us, what would you honestly tell them after your experience?
I would tell them like absolutely do it. And it is very good value. Whether that changes or not, I don't know. But as in yeah, but I would tell them absolutely do it. And like any course that you do, just do everything that the course says. I know you and Alessio mentioned it before in one of the seminars that you did a course and you threw yourselves into it. And I think it's the only way to do something, and the only way, if you really want to succeed, you should do it. But I think it was very easy to trust the two of you, and I don't know why. But and there's something you've mentioned in your seminars before about when you're selling a product, over deliver. And I do feel like that was the case with your course. For me, there was kind of a lot of contact afterwards. I felt like I could text you guys in a very friendly manner, and I just think that that's a great relationship with the coach. And yeah, so I'd say absolutely do it.
Love it. Appreciate you so much, Kim. And again, super, super proud of the growth that you had and the work that we did together. And I know this in like in your career, in your life, in your music is literally the step one. And you really needed step one, but now, you have everything in front of you, endless opportunities. So super excited about this and we're gonna have a chat about it now. But yeah, really appreciate you for, saying everything that you said on this call. It really means a lot. And yeah, I guess anything else that do you wanna say, or if not, we can close it off here.
No, I'd say thanks so much. Are you going to like take on more musicians? Like, would you be interested in taking on more? Because there was no musicians really when I first joined.
That is true. That is true. And we actually talked about this when, on our first initial call. I started making content because of that, because I had the recording studio and like helping musician with their marketing. So really like I felt your growth like more than other kinds because it's like how I started creating content, the reason why I started creating content. So, if a musician after watching this would I would love to work with us, so of course that I'll be, you
Yeah,
know.
because I just think that's really cool. Like, I know you know that, but everybody that I could see in the chat was kind of in the business world.
Yeah.
which I still took a lot from, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
and like that, it's all the same strategies. That's the thing. You don't miss out on our first call. I was like, "Can you help me?" And I definitely felt like, I trusted you when you said that you could.
yeah.
But it's like if you have a passion, it's life changing to learn these skills, and
Yeah,
they don't necessarily go hand in hand with musicians, but they should.
yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
Love it. Love it. All right, Kim. Thank you so much. Excited about your next steps. And yeah, thanks again for this call.